Kiir of South Sudan and also representation from Burundi and Rwanda. Now, at this particular moment, we're talking about 19 nations that have thrown the weight or support behind Raila Odinga and saying he is the right man for the job. When he was giving his speech, he said the Lion of Africa has been sleeping in the Congo, but this time round it has awakened and it wants to take its rightful space in the political space when it comes to the African continent and also the global stage. That will be forming the basis of our conversation here this particular morning on New Dawn with my panel later on, whereby we'll be trying to assess what this means for the nation, especially when it comes to what the country gets to benefit as far as Raila's seeking the chairmanship of the AUC is concerned. What exactly does it mean to you? Why should you care? Why should you support him? Because the government has been asking each and every Kenyan to throw their weight behind Raila Odinga. Also, what does it take to finance this particular campaign? And does he actually stand a chance? What kind of campaign should the government put forward when it comes to supporting Raila Odinga? Now start engaging us on our socials. That is at K24 on Twitter or on X, at K24, that is on Facebook and also on YouTube. We are also live on all across social media platforms, and my handle is at Amwai Brand. But first, I'd like to take you through some of the news that you're waking up to and also take a look at the dailies before we get into the conversation that will be forming the agenda of the nation today. Now listen, I do want to take you through some of the news that have been making headlines this particular morning, and we begin with this one that will be forming the basis of our conversation this particular morning that has to do with Raila Odinga. Now Kenya has officially launched former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's bid for the African Union Commission chairperson position at State House, Nairobi. Now the launch has seen the East African region rally behind the candidature of Raila Odinga, terming him qualified enough for the continental job. And as I report on this particular story, the launch marks the official start of Odinga's campaign to replace Musa Faki of Chad, whose term ends in February 2025. His motorcades neck through processional way. Destination State House, Nairobi. Raila Odinga was the man of the moment. He walked to the stage ready to deliver his maiden speech as his country rallied behind him, fronting him as the best candidate to serve at the AUC. The head of state, proud of his choice, confident that Odinga will deliver on his mandate if elected.
I am confident that he will give his utmost and do all it takes to make Africa proud and Africa powerful.
The East African region, led by Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, Samia Suluhu of Tanzania, and Salva Kiir of South Sudan, all endorsed Odinga as the right man for the job.
I am here to support the candidature of Raila Odinga as the chairperson of the African Union. Asante sana.
The United Republic of Tanzania assures Republic of Kenya of its full support for the candidature of Right Honorable Raila Odinga for the position of African Union Commission chairperson, and Tanzania says, Baba anatosha, achaguliwe.
Burundi is entirely behind the candidature of Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga for the post of the President of the Commission of the African Union.
Odinga fronted himself as a Pan-Africanist ready to unite a continent that has been greatly divided.
The borders of yesterday, I dream of an Africa where those borders and colonial languages no longer divide us. We don't want to see Africans to be divided as Anglophones, Francophones, Lusophones. I want them to be Africophones.
The former Prime Minister sent a warning to those exploiting the continent. His message saying the sleeping lion is now awake and ready to take its rightful position.
But I'm here as the African lion. I've been asleep in the jungles of the Congo, but now I'm awake and I'm sitting on African gold.
Odinga now faces competition from Mahmoud Yusuf of Djibouti, Anil Gayan of Mauritius, and Richard Randriamandrato of Madagascar. With elections slated for February 2025 to replace Moussa Faki of Chad, Odinga already has bagged support of 25 African nations, and with the support of his country, the former Prime Minister and Kenya at large feel like he is ready to go. The journey to take Raila Odinga to the AUC has already begun. His campaign officially launched, with the nation promising to traverse the continent to ensure that the former Prime Minister takes the top seat in the continent. Brian Amuai, K24, Nairobi. Right, that was State House yesterday, and some of the things that we came out with from that particular event is this particular green pen here, written Raila for AUC. Of course, this does not in any way interfere with my judgment as a journalist. It's just something that I'm going to use to write a story, whether he wins or loses. All right? Away from that. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has accused the vocal and youthful Orange Democratic Movement lawmaker Babu Owino of interfering with Ugandan politics. While in attendance at State House Nairobi during the official launch of Raila Odinga's African Union Commission chairperson bid, Museveni verbally went after Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino. Also speaking at the same event, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, on his part, denied existence of personal disagreements between him and Kenya's AUC chairperson candidate Raila Odinga. Busara Naman tells us more.
Political undertones were witnessed during the official launch of Raila Odinga's African Union Commission chairperson bid, when leaders digressed and got into the politics of the East African region. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni accused Embakasi MP Babu Owino of interfering with Ugandan politics by collaborating with Uganda's anti-ruling party activists, according to intelligence reports he received.
So I already see intelligence service reports. There's a character called Babu. I received Babu. Dealing with anti-Ugandan group, anti-NRM group, seeing Ugandans. So I had never chosen him, but now I am choosing Babu. But those are individuals, they are not the Raila group, because I know Raila from the nationalists and Pan-Africanists.
Owino has been a vocal supporter of Ugandan opposition leader Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, popularly known as Bobi Wine, and has publicly declared his support for his movement and ideologies. In 2018, the Ugandan government banned Babu from entering Uganda over undermining President Museveni's administration.
And act collectively.
On the other hand, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua denied the existence of personal disagreements between him and AUC chairperson candidate Raila Odinga. Gachagua emphasized that the differences were based on political competition and not on a personal level.
Before, had issues with the leadership of Raila Odinga. As a truthful man, I had nothing against him. It's only that we were competing for the same position between him and my boss. Now that he is going for a bigger seat in Africa, all of us, from the president, I, and the rest of Kenya, are behind him.
Busara Naman, K24 TV.
Now, still on matters politics, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has been unveiled as the official opposition leader, taking over Raila Odinga as the Azimio principal. However, with only Babu Owino present from the ODM party in what is expected to be a battle of control of the outfit. Kalonzo and other Azimio leaders who declined an invitation to attend Odinga's AUC bid launch vowed to push for respect of the 2010 Constitution, which marks 14 years of implementation. As Joel Chacha now reports, Azimio says it's still alive despite Odinga exiting local politics.
And we'll all clap together.
During the official launch of the campaign for Raila Odinga to become the African Union Commission chairman at State House Nairobi, it was visible that key Azimio leaders, despite being invited, were a no-show. Some of them led by Kalonzo Musyoka, Babu Owino, Jeremiah Kioni, and Eugene Wamalwa, among others separately holding a press briefing.
With the majority of our people who expect that this administration will be kept on its feet. In fact, they will see opposition that they have never seen before. I can tell you that. So it will be a team, a case of first among.
Odinga's exit from local politics, they say, will not create a power vacuum in the Azimio coalition, even as they announced a new principle.
And under the leadership of now our official leader of opposition, Mheshimiwa Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, and all those here and many others who are not here, we believe that we have that responsibility as part of ensuring that the Constitution of 2010 is implemented.
As it goes to Addis Ababa, kwa baba, we want to wish him well. As we remain behind, we will do that which he would have done if he was still actively participating in politics in Kenya, and that is to keep checks and balances.
Azimio now says it will put Ruto's government on toes while remaining keen to protect Kenyans from punitive policies such as high taxation.
We'll ensure, as those who are remaining in opposition, that we fight for Kenyans. We will ensure that the government, that which they promised, is indeed delivered to the mama mboga and to the hustler.
Let us work together across all divides to build a Kenya where the rule of law prevails, where every citizen is treated with fairness and dignity, and where our institutions serve the public good.
The move by the leaders without the presence of top officials of the ODM party is likely to bring about infighting, with the battle to control the outfit expected, or could mark the death of Azimio. Joel Chacha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Now, the Employment and Labor Relations Court has temporarily suspended the nationwide teacher strike. Now, this comes after the Teachers Service Commission filed a case against the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers. Now, in response, KUPPET has vowed to continue their strike, stating that they have not yet received the official ruling, claiming that the court order has now intensified the strike, which entered its second day yesterday. Harry Chimea reports.
The industrial nationwide strike by the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers KUPPET, which entered its second day today, has been temporarily suspended after the Labour Court received a case filed by the Teachers Service Commission (TSC). KUPPET is expected to submit its response within 7 days. The case will be heard on September 5th. However, KUPPET says that the court order has exacerbated the strike, with the Union Secretary General Akelo Misori saying they have not yet received the official letter of the order. Surprisingly, the Ministry of Education says it will continue its negotiations with KUPPET to address their concerns. KUPPET's strike affected various regions today. In Machakos County, teachers who tried to teach were chased away by their colleagues.
Tulikuwa tunataka kuwasalimia. Tumeingia ndani tukapata walimu walikuwa wamekimbia.
To come to a school and blow all this is also not good for the students. You are also parents.
Leave the teachers free. Let them join us in the streets to
Teachers are among others lamenting over government's failed promises, insisting that the 2021-2025 CBA must be implemented and salaries must reach the bank.
The cover which we are enjoying as teachers is contributory. We used to have medical allowance, but they were taken away. We were shocked the other day when we were told the government want to reduce the cover from 22 billion to 11 billion.
Personally, I've been teaching for the last 24 years. I've never had a promotion.
Additionally, they have vowed to lay down their tools until the government employs 46,000 JSS teachers and another 20,000.
We are saying until the government pays the third-party deductions, we will not go back to class.
So we are saying immediate promotion of the teachers who went for interviews.
They have also lamented capitation delays, despite the government having announced allocation of 14.1 billion shillings to secondary schools.
We are also telling Belio that he must stop lying to the country. Alisema pesa ya FSC imefika kwa account. We are with some of the principals here, and they are saying there is no money in the account.
However, Education CS Julius Migos vowed that by the end of the year, the government will employ 20,000 new JSS teachers and that they have allocated a budget of 18.7 billion shillings January next year, which will aid in employment of 46,000 JSS teachers.
So they should not be having any anxiety over whether or not they are going to be confirmed.
Harriet Chimea, K24.
Now, at least 40 youths are arrested on Monday after posing a protest march in anticipation of Kenya's 14th year anniversary after the promulgation of the Constitution have been released on bail. Now, those arrested were being held at Central Police Station, where lawyers and Kenyans of goodwill turned up to negotiate their release. Some of those present say though yesterday's protest did not materialize, they will not relent to push for accountability in government, vowing to change tact from physical demonstrations to what they now term as digital revolution.
It has been nothing but a successful day. To see that anti-riot police are still patrolling the streets is nothing but a thing of beauty, because we have kept them busy the entire day while our comrades are sleeping safe and sound. So now we are saying we are scaling up. This is not a threat to the government, but we are telling them that now that you want to get us off the streets, you want this to be a digital revolution. So I hope that right now as you speak, all your systems are in check. I hope that right now as you speak, you don't have typing errors in those documents. I hope that right now as you speak, you know that we have very many young, learned people who are willing to defend this country from your corruption.
This movement is going to continue whichever way. We will do it on digital platforms. We will do thorough civic education. And because you see, when it comes to ideology, we are not virgins when it comes to ideology. So we are telling the government that you should be ready. Today, we have known your tactics, and that's why you are seeing us. We are not on the streets. We knew what you were expecting, and we knew how to dodge you.
Now, at least 476,167 national ID cards have not been collected by their owners at the National Registration Office and Service Centers across the country. Now, speaking after announcing the government's plans regarding the ID cards, Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Immigration and Citizen Services, Julius Bitok, stated that the government has cleared the backlog of ID cards and urged Kenyans not to hesitate to register. Bitok also clarified that the ministry has the capacity to print up to 32,000 national IDs per day to handle new applications quickly. Now, according to the office, Nairobi leads in the number of uncollected ID cards, followed by Kisumu, Mombasa and Kisii. This follows a High Court ruling 2 weeks ago that lifted the order halting the printing of the third-generation national ID cards known as Maisha Card. Now, as the country celebrates 14 years since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, civil society groups are lamenting the government's failure to fully implement the supreme law despite large strides being made. Now, during Katiba Day celebrations in different parts of the country, the government was urged to uphold human rights and take action against persons involved in corruption. Muriel Adhiambo reports.
14 years after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, the journey towards its full implementation is not yet complete.
One of the largest march against some of...
The Kenya Christian Professionals Forum held Katiba Day celebrations today, where the Law Society of Kenya, while noting the gains of the new dispensation, faulted the government for violating human rights in the protests witnessed recently.
This level of public participation that we've seen in the people of Kenya should be encouraged and should not be fought, should not be met by impunity and abuse and misuse of police power and criminalization of the criminal justice system against the people of Kenya.
This is an opportune time to remind the current government that we expect nothing short of complete compliance with each and every dictate of the Constitution.
LSK also criticized the government for starting the process of amending the Constitution under the NADCO report before fully implementing the Supreme Law. The report recommended several constitutional amendments, including the establishment of the office of the Leader of the Opposition and 2 deputy prime ministers.
The fact that we are still talking about how to create political expediency, that we can have what is good for the political class, then I think we are still going in the wrong direction. And what we ought to still foster is, let us implement the Constitution first as it ought to be. Article 81 stipulates that not more than 2/3 of the members of the elective public bodies shall be of the same gender. By this standard, Parliament as constituted is unconstitutional.
Civil society groups have also lamented the violation of court orders and the lack of public participation in legislation, saying the judiciary should be at the forefront of defending its own independence. Before the Supreme Court stayed the Court of Appeal judgment that nullified the Finance Act 2023 last week, the government continued to impose taxes under the Act despite its unconstitutionality.
If their own court orders are disobeyed, then they go ahead to grant reprieve to the same arm of government that continues to disobey those orders. Then they remain the same circus. They remain the joke to the citizens of Kenya.
In Mombasa and Nakuru, Kenyans called for the prosecution of government officials implicated in corruption, while rights groups called for the implementation of Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Kujitokelezea kwa maandamano, ati tuko kando na kikatiba. Hii maandamano iko kwa katiba.
Tumeona ya kwamba tangu ya assume office the year 2022 mwezi wa 9 hapo, waathiriwa wote wenye walikuwa na cases, court cases, zimekuwa withdrawn.
Bill of Rights, sisi kama watetezi wa haki za kibinadamu, ikiguswa sisi tutarudi kwa maandamano.
Muriel Adhiambo, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Now, a day after demonstrations to remove Governor Kawira Mwangaza from office were held in Meru, ward representatives in support of the governor are now claiming that there is a conspiracy to sabotage projects led by Kawira through the Office of the Controller of Budget. Now, here is Ben Kirira with more on that particular story.
Members of County Assembly in support of Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza, whose removal from office was upheld by the Senate, have strongly accused the county's Senator Kathure Murungi of allegedly undermining development in the county.
The people of Meru gave the governor a mandate and overwhelmingly voted for that lady in 2022. My request to the leaders of Meru, give the people's power a chance. Give the rule of law a chance. Let us stop the shadow boxing of besetting residents in various wards.
Earlier in the case hearing sessions to oust Kawira in the Senate Assembly, Murungi was mentioned as one of those who plotted to oust the legislator. The MCAs say that Senator Murungi wrote a letter to the Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, asking her not to allocate money to Meru County, following the Senate's decision to remove Governor Kawira Mwangaza from office.
The views that he has, even to the Controller of Budget, those are not our views. Because one, we need to have even a public participation.
Na kama MCAs wa Meru, hao wengine wenye wanajisikia wataki kufanya kazi na Governor Kawira Mwangaza, if they feel they don't want to be part of that government, they can resign and go back for elections.
This step, according to ward representatives, aims to hold services and important development projects that depend on the disbursement of those funds.
We know doctors are on the streets. We wonder where will money come from, if not from the government or the exchequer, so that these doctors' interests can be taken care of.
The representatives have also denounced the ongoing protests in Meru County against the return of Governor Kawira to office, which forced the police to intervene on Monday.
Kujatokea jambo la kisheria na kumdhibitisha mwingine yeyote isipokuwa Kawira Mwangaza kuwa gavana wa Meru.
They have emphasized that Governor Mwangaza is still in office according to the court order, which asked her to remain in her post until the 17th of next month, when the case will be mentioned in court. Ben Kirera, K24, Nairobi.
All right, 25 minutes past the hour, and that story by Ben Kirera takes us to our first break here on New Dawn. But before that, Jared Kagaka, a baby, says from Kisi Bongonta, pamoja with my wife Judy watching you. Like, thank you so much. You and your wife woke up pretty early to Tune in. Thank you so much for that. And of course, Fred Onduko says from Sunoka County, Pamoja. Dixon Wanyango, of course, watching. I can see your feedback there. We do want to take a break here. Thank you so much for engaging us. We'll be sampling some of it as we continue with the program. So don't go too far. When we come back, we'll be taking a look at what you're waking up to as far as newspapers are concerned. Continue engaging us across social media platforms at K24 TV. All right, we take a break. We will be back in a few.